Hi, Happy Love here, and I'm here with part 3 of What If Katara Was the Avatar. Please enjoy! Another quick summary of what happened in the last 2 parts. Katara's the Avatar instead of Aang. Aang didn't die, but he escaped the air nomad invasion. Haru is Katara's earthbending teacher instead of Toph. And when the crew stole the waterbending scroll, they also took the pirates' ship because it's a better mode of transportation than anything they've had so far. So I'm going to start off with the episode including the fortune teller because I forgot to add it to the last part. Now, I don't think it will change very much other than the fact that one of the fortunes that Katara gets from the fortune teller is the same one that she gives to Aang in the original timeline. And I believe Haru would side with Sokka on how impractical fortune telling would be, and he would help out with building the trench during the volcano eruption. I still believe that Katara will stop the trench using the Avatar state, but I think she'll use her waterbending to cool off the lava rather than airbending to cool it down. Then in the episode of the Northern Air Temple, the gang still goes there when they hear the rumors of airbenders being there because they're hoping to find Katara an airbending teacher. Instead, they meet Theo and his father. Sokka still gets along really well with Theo's dad, and Haru and Katara both befriend Theo. While they don't find an airbender, they do get materials to make their own war balloon, which is how they will start flying around starting in book 2. Finally, we arrive at the solstice, and like the 2 episodes that came before it, I don't think much will change in this episode, or its second part, other than the fact that Katara might start fighting the spirit until she realizes that it's just worried about the forest. Then she'll give it the same speech she gave to Aang about it growing back. And when she goes to the Fire Nation, I think she'll be less hesitant to bring Haru and Sokka along than Aang was. Once she arrives there, she meets Avatar Roku. I'm doing Roku instead of Aang because I doubt Aang will have much of an idea what's going on due to him not really being a very active avatar. While there, she learns about the comet that's coming and that she needs to learn the 4 elements before this summer when the comet arrives. This leads to the gang speeding to the North Pole as fast as they can. Once they arrive at the North Pole, things go down pretty much exactly the same, with them being greeted by the chief and the rest of the tribe, meeting Yue, Sokka and Yue starting the flirt, and the chief telling Katara that she'll be training under Master Pakku to learn how to master waterbending. I believe that Pakku would be a little less eager to teach Katara than he was to teach Aang, but I also feel that Katara would be more eager to learn than Aang was. I think he might try to make an excuse that Katara should learn how to hone her healing skills, and I think that Katara might fall for that and go to learn how to heal, where she learns that her grandmother came from the North Pole and about the North Pole's traditions not to teach women how to fight. We then probably get a different version of the scene where Sokka comes back from his failed meeting with Yue after she tells him to basically get lost because she's engaged, but she doesn't tell him he's engaged. Only Haru's there instead of Aang, and Sokka suggests that Katara try teaching herself. This goes very poorly, and Katara gets frustrated, who would demand a duel from Pakku, and I believe Pakku would reluctantly agree. During the duel, it goes down about the same, with Katara showing that she's a skilled waterbender, but Pakku still being reluctant to actually teach her, until he sees her necklace and remembers her grandmother. Then he agrees to teach Katara waterbending properly, and learns that she's one of the best students he's ever had. Sokka and Yue meet up, where Yue tells Sokka that she's engaged. The next episode starts out pretty much the same, with Katara winning a duel and Pakku telling her that she's one of the best students he's ever had, and Yue and Sokka hanging out, as well as finding out about the Fire Nation's invasion. The chief then asks for volunteers to help fight, and Sokka, once again, will volunteer, and just assume all the Sokka stuff stays pretty much the same. However, I don't think Katara would be on the front lines trying to take out the ships like Aang was. I think she'll be closer to the North Pole due to everyone wanting to protect her, which would probably start to frustrate her because it will remind her of her past and how everyone was overprotective of her. I think Haru would try to comfort her, saying that it's not that they don't think she can handle herself, but that they need her here to be their last line of defense if all else fails. And I think Katara would accept this, realizing that her presence bringing hope would be just as effective as her being on the battlefield herself. Yue would then bring up the possibility of asking the spirits for help to win the battle, and Katara would agree to this, which would lead to Katara, Yue, and Haru going to the spirit oasis in the North Pole, and Katara meditating to get to the spirit world for the first time in her life, with Haru standing as her bodyguard. Now, the North Pole is mostly ice and snow, so in most areas, Haru as an earthbender would be pretty much useless. However, I think he might be able to do something in the spirit oasis simply because there's solid ground there. As for Commander Zhao, things are going down pretty much exactly the same in that regard, but it's the same story for Zuko and Iroh. They've had pretty much the exact same journey this entire time. So Zuko will still arrive in an attempt to kidnap Katara while she's meditating in the spirit world. And Haru would be the one to try and stop him. I don't think that Haru would be as good of an opponent as Katara was in the original timeline, simply because he's not as well trained as she is, and I think that Zuko will easily be able to take him out, but I still think he might get a few good hits in. Though Katara still gets kidnapped while she's in the spirit world, and while in the spirit world, Roku will tell her who she needs to see to find the moon and water spirits, and also to tell her to have no emotions because she has to go see Ko, the face stealer. I think that Katara would have a bit of a harder time maintaining a neutral face around Ko, and that she'd also probably feel a little sorry for the spirit, since one of her past lives is trying to kill it, until she realizes that he stole the face of the love of their life. Then she'd probably be disgusted and enraged by the spirit. She's ultimately able to get the information she needs about the moon and water spirits, and leave the spirit world just in time to realize she's once again been kidnapped by Zuko, though she regains consciousness with enough time to overhear him talking about his sister Azula and how he was lucky to be born. Very similar to Aang, Katara would try to escape, only to be stopped by Zuko and bailed out by her friends. Now, this is going to be the first time that Team Avatar uses the war balloon to find them, because they thought it would be more effective than trying to go on foot. When they arrive, Haru uses the coal from the war balloon's engine to take out Zuko, similar to how Katara did it, only he relies more on the element of surprise. Now, I believe that Katara would still vouch for them taking Zuko with them, not because she doesn't want him to die, but because she feels like she owes him since he did save her life when she was captured by Zhao. While flying back to the North Pole, Yue will tell them about how the moon spirit gave her her life, and Katara and Yue will both realize that the moon spirit is in danger, so they attempt to pick up the pace. Once they arrive at the spirit oasis, Katara tells Zhao not to touch the spirit, and instead of trying to negotiate like Aang, she's basically threatening him, and is backed up by Iroh, who insists that the Fire Nation needs the moon just as much as the Water Tribe does. At first, Zhao seems to concede. However, like in the original, he strikes down the moon spirit, which enrages Katara and Iroh, with Iroh taking out the firebending soldiers, while Zhao makes his escape. With the moon gone and waterbending seemingly destroyed forever, Yue breaks down, saying that there's no hope left, much to everyone's despair. However, this hits a chord with Katara, who remembers her words to Gran back in the original. No. We can't give up hope, because hope is all we have left in this war-torn world. With those words, Katara enters the Avatar state and fuses with the water spirit in order to defeat the Fire Nation and get revenge on Zhao, who, like in the original, refuses Zuko's hand when he offers it to him. While this is happening, Yue once again gives her life to the moon spirit and becomes the new moon spirit. After the battle is over, Sokka consoles Yue's father, while Haru apologizes to Katara for being pretty much useless the entire time. Katara tells him that he isn't useless and that He just needs a little bit more training, just like she did. Haru takes her words to heart and decides that maybe they should search the Earth Kingdom for a better Earthbane teacher, but Katara insists that she wants to learn from him. As they are about to leave the North Pole, Pakku once again gives Katara the channel of spirit water, saying that it might come in handy, as well as another waterbending scroll so she can keep on practicing more advanced moves. And that's it for part 3 of What If Katara Was the Avatar. Part 4 will take up the first bit of book 2 up until they meet Toph, who might still join Team Avatar, just not in the way you expect.